Hello everyone, it's your Bud. In today's video, I'm going to be reading a poem to you. Now this poem is from one of the old Warhammer army books. This is from the Ogre Kingdoms army book. Now this is back before Age of Sigmar. This is in, the old Warhammer fantasy battles, the stuff that I knew. Now Ogre Kingdoms were my first army and they were my introduction into all of this. But today the poem that we're going to be reading is apparently an excerpt from Quest's End, a parody of a popular Bretonnian folk song, sung to the tune of Carroburg Fair. Now I don't know what Carroburg Fair is, and I don't actually know what Quest's End is, but I know Bretonnia is a sort of Arthurian thing in Warhammer, sort of, imagine knights, round table, all of that stuff. And I did mention the Green Knight of Bretonnia and the Lady of the Lake in my most recent Warhammer fantasy video where I was discussing Abarash the Blood Dragon. But now, without any further ado, let me share to you this poem that really captured my imagination when I was younger. This is a poem, meant to be, again, a parody from the Quest's End, sort of an excerpt, a Bretonnian folk song, and I'm just going to be doing this as a poem. Now this is a Bretonnian knight going to hunt an ogre. Pray hark to brave Sir Baldrin's tale, who travelled far to Mountain Vale, to slay an ogre, fiend or drake, and meet the Lady of the Lake. Dismounting now, Sir Baldrin strode further still up mountain road. From nook and cranny hungry eyes did stare, then widen in surprise. And thus it was that Ogre Fowl stepped out and gave a fearsome growl. "I'll grind your bones to make my bread." The knight replied, "I'll have your head." Sir Baldrin charged with greatsword raised, his downward stroke the ogre grazed. The monster's club came arcing down and landed hard on Baldrin's crown. There came a grisly snapping sound, the knight was pitched unto the ground. But Baldrin's tale does not end here, for in the mountains all is dear. His guts were gobbled then and there, the rest dragged back to Ogre's lair. Sir Baldrin's heart, both stout and true, took pride of place in wholesome stew. His legs were chewed, his fingers grilled, on hot plate made from Baldrin's shield. Bones were snapped and marrow bled, then powdered into ogre bread. Chainmail fitted Ogre's arm, a goblin took his lady's charm. His greatsword, once a weapon dire, spitted meat on open fire. His altar thrown into the hearth, his breastplate now a goblin's bath. His blanket used to stuff a hole, his skull a hollow drinking bowl. And so it was that Baldrin's fate was met upon an ogre's plate. Let ye be warned when eastward bound, pray take some friends, lest ye be found. And then there's an awesome picture here on the bottom left. I believe that is a gorger, although it could be any type of ogre, but it does look very gorger-like. So yes, that was the poem, the, Tale of Sir Baldrin? Excerpt of a song. It's an excerpt from the Quest's End, a parody of the popular Bretonnian folk song. So, and I think if you just type in Sir Baldrin's tale, then I think you can find this poem online. But isn't that really wicked? Like, it starts out with, he's got striding up the road, and then the ogre kills him, but that doesn't end there. That's like the halfway point of the poem. Actually, it's not even the halfway point of the poem. And then he dies, and then the rest of the poem is just eating him, which is just, Some of my favorite parts here was his heart, both stout and true, took pride of place in wholesome stew. And then the other thing where the powdered into ogre's bread for bones, that's just, ugh. And the fact that, like, the chainmail from the body of the knight only fitted the ogre's arm is kind of interesting, and the goblin took his lady's charm, because obviously an ogre can't eat a charm, so he's not going to use it. It's not going to act as armor, and it's not food. So yeah, the goblin took it. Yeah, and the greatsword, once a weapon dire, spitted meat on open fire. One of the verses didn't really rhyme there. The whole, like, his altar thrown into the hearth, his breastplate made a goblin's bath. I mean, I'll forgive it though, because when they say his blanket used to stuff a hole, his skull a hollow drinking bowl, I mean, that's just perfect, right? And then so it was that Baldrin's fate was met upon an ogre's plate. let ye be warned, when eastward bound, pray take some friends, lest ye be found. So I really do love the Ogre Kingdoms. They were my introduction into Warhammer. They were the first race I picked, and they're the ones that I liked. And this edition, I don't know exactly what edition this is, but I'll take a picture here and you can see what the cover art looks like. And once you see what the cover art looks like, you'll be able to recognize when you're seeing the right. Okay, so I just took a screenshot of the artwork on the front, and now you can see with that artwork that is the Ogre Kingdoms army book that you want. Now there's a newer one that came out. There was an 8th edition, so I guess this might be 7th or 6th edition Warhammer Fantasy Battles. But this was the edition that I started with, and it's got some really great art, some absolutely incredible art. You know what, I'll just take a few more screenshots here. Okay, so I just took a few screenshots, and now you'll be able to see a bit more clearly why I loved this. So this army book was the first army book that I ever had for Warhammer, and you can tell just by looking at a few of the art pieces here, especially the Gorger art piece that I shared, that it's not exactly, it's more of like, it seems like it's filled more with, concept art. And then there are some really great art pieces that were in the beginning there, but those are, you can tell those were like probably commissioned art pieces. But then the actual like, as far as the army goes, as far as the like point system and the actual like characters that you can have models for, those artworks look a bit more like concept art to me. So I'm not exactly sure how early on the army book came out in the development of the idea of Ogre Kingdoms, but I really do like the Ogre Kingdoms. And then after that poem there's this whole thing about dissection. It's from like an Empire, a scientist or something, showing like what they found when they dissected ogres. It reminds me of the orc dissection thing from 40k. I think they have a similar thing for orcs. But yeah, I really love the Ogre Kingdoms. They were just so appealing to me. I thought they were just so cool, and I really love the art. So the artwork reminded me of like a Conan sort of style artwork, meaning like a Boris or Frazetta or something like that. Like you can tell the artwork is inspired a lot by that, at least in my opinion it looks like that. And that's not the concept art stuff, but the like really high quality art. I think it's absolutely incredible, like Grease's gold tooth and that big throne with the whole like mammoth skull thing that he's sitting on when people are pit fighting in front of him. And then there's the big maw pit where there's people actually pit fighting in that picture right above. Someone up in the cage, a human up in the cage way in the ceiling. I think that's pretty interesting. Yeah, I really liked the ogres. They were probably my favorite. So, well, they're just my favorite just because they're the ones that I started with. So, of course, I have to stick by them. And the art is just absolutely awesome. Like I said, I only shared like half of the art, so there's a bunch more art to look at. Actually, I'll just take one more picture here of a slaughter master because they're so cool. Scrag the Slaughterer, prophet of the Great Maw. I just took one picture of him because him with his like big like stew pot or whatever, and he just goes into battle and just cooks people in the middle of battle. Yeah, but I really did like the ogre. Oh, Greasus. I gotta take one more picture of Greasus here. Yeah, Greasus is even fatter in that picture than he is in the other one. I guess that was just a regular tyrant on the mammoth throne. Let me go all the way back up to the... Takes a long time to scroll through this. There's a lot of pages in this book. Oh, so I guess this is more than just the poem book now. This is sort of like a review of Ogre Kingdoms edition. So yeah, it doesn't look like that was a Greasus up in that giant throne thing from the mammoth skull. But yeah, I absolutely love Ogre Kingdoms. They're super cool, and one of the things that really inspired me to like them more was the poem. I thought that poem really shone a light on what ogres are. They're just so resourceful. If you know me, you've seen some of my other videos, I really like people that are resilient, or I guess independent. So like something like a troll. A troll can be really resilient. And there aren't a race of trolls that you can have for an army. You can have trolls in your orcs army, but you can't have trolls in your actual, like you don't have an army of trolls. So I guess this is the closest thing to trolls. Ogres are the most resilient things in all of Warhammer, in my opinion, and they were the ones that first drew me to Warhammer as an army. When I had to pick my first army to go through, I looked through and there was all of these new things and I didn't know what to pick, and then I picked ogres and I was not disappointed. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this. Hopefully you enjoyed the tale of, what was it, Sir Baldric? Oh, it was not Sir Baldric, it's Sir Baldrin. So yeah, Sir Baldrin's Tale. You can just Google that and Sir Baldrin's Tale shows up on a Warhammer wiki. It's there on the fandom, but I wanted to share you this piece with the cool artwork. Sorry there's a bit of a glare there over that guy's face, but hey, you can at least see most of it and you can enjoy this cool picture. I think it's just so cool. So what do you think of this video? If you enjoyed this, give this video a like. You can subscribe for daily videos. I make at least one video every single day on this channel, and leave any questions or suggestions questions in the comments below, and I'll see you in tomorrow's video. And let me know down below what your favorite Warhammer army is if you have one, and maybe I can do some more videos on them. So thanks very much for watching. I'll see you in tomorrow's video.